Welcome to Our Voices on the Yard, where Black artistic excellence meets everyday life. I'm your host, Denise Woods. Join me as we explore and celebrate the achievements of the Black artists that attended conservatories and fine arts programs from around the world, starting with my alma mater, the Juilliard School. She's an incredible opera singer who lives in San Francisco, has had an extraordinary career as an opera singer, not without challenge, because not only is she met with the opposition of being a woman of color in the classical world, but she's also met with the fact that she's a transgender woman in the opera world. So I thought she would be a wonderful transition into our second season, where I am going to open up the conversation beyond the walls of Juilliard. And so she's going to be the introduction to Beyond the Walls of Juilliard to California Institute of the Arts. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Breanna Sinclair.
When I'm studying characters, I try to look at other singers performing a character. Like, for instance, like Tosca, I would see Renee Fleming do it, or another singer, Sandra Radvanowski, do it, and seeing their interpretation. And then at the end, I'm like, now what is Brianna's interpretation of the character? How can I bring Brianna into this and really, give an audience an experience? So, I think as an artist, doing your homework is so important, because it really not only makes you a better artist, but it really puts you in a kind of upstanding position of the character and what you want to do and portray.
Absolutely. It gives you a wellspring, a depth of understanding that can only enrich your performance. I want to know if you've ever had the inspiration to create your own content, to compose.
That's so funny that you said that. I've had many dreams of composing. I've never composed in reality, I guess, if you want to say, but I've had many dreams like of composing a work. And I don't know if I'm supposed to be logging these dreams, but I do have these, I have thought about, creating music or a songbook that is specifically for trans voices. And that's always kind of been my goal. And maybe that's something that I would do later in my life. But that's something that I would love to do.
When you say trans voices, would it be the spoken voice as well as the singing voice?
Yes. About it? Denise, I was so nervous for this interview because I'm like, I hate my speaking voice. And I'm like, oh Lord. I was like, I hope Denise approves of my speaking voice.
I love your speaking voice.
I think especially a lot of trans folks, the speaking voice is such a, it can be such, it can be very dysphoric sometimes because, we're in a society where we're forced to be and sound a certain way. So, when you're applying for a job or, doing an interview, whatever, when you speak, there's always a fear with us because we're like, oh my God, is someone judging our tone, our timbre? Do I sound manly or do I sound this way? And so when I speak, there's always a fear of if I'm not sounding classically feminine. And that's always that push and pull. And so I hate speaking. I love singing because when I open my mouth and sing, it is classically feminine because I'm singing a higher register. But when I'm speaking, my voice has some depth. It has a little bit of bass to it because I do have a
Yeah.
big voice and I have a large chest and rib cage capacity that I'm able to sing in large halls without a mic. So I think when I speak, I have some of um, that a little bit of bass timbre that kind of, you
Yes.
know, because my voice is soft, but
I tell you, my mind is being blown right now, sweetheart, and I'm so grateful because you're taking me down a road that I didn't even think we were going to go down. It never even dawned on me that, yes, the speaking voice you might, have issue with because, again, perception. Where do you
perception.
where does this voice live, and does it fit with how I look? Does it
Mhm.
suit the way, like Shakespeare said, let the action speak, let the word speak the action speak the word. I mean, does it match essentially? Oh no, it's let the action suit the word and the word suit the action. And so you're basically saying that, does the voice suit the physical, the outward appearance of my femininity? I never even thought of it. Talking about how this conversation of the voice, being a question or perceived differently, as the speaking voice, that is, being perceived differently than your singing voice because it is an outward reflection of your femininity. And sometimes that, for a lot of trans women and men, can come in question.
Yeah, and trans men, I think they have it a lot easier because they
Wow.
take testosterone. So testosterone actually dramatically changes the vocal timbre throughout a periodic of time, whereas estrogen does not change your voice. And that was another thing as an opera singer. I think a lot of vocal coaches were shocked that I could sing this work, and they assumed that because I was taking estrogen, that it made a dramatic impact on my voice, which it didn't. I naturally had the
Wow.
register. It was just developed and pruned and taken care of by amazing coaches. And so, yes, that perception can be very challenging, especially when you're working or you're going to the store or going to get coffee and you go to the cashier and you're like, you get this kind of fear like, okay, you know, soften your voice, take a deep breath, and exhale and speak. And so it can
Mm.
be very challenging. And so I think sometimes when I speak, I get very shy and hesitant and I kind of back away. And my teachers are like, girl, you can sing and sing all day, but you got to learn
Mhm.
how to speak with poise and be
Mhm.
confident in whatever your timbre is at the moment. And so,
That's right.
I'm thankful for Sherry who kind of, you know, gave me that confidence to um, accept my voice in whatever stage I'm in. And so,
This is what I'd love to do. I'd love to do an exercise with you, sweetheart.
sure,
You want to do it? Okay.
sure,
This is
let's
an
do it.
exercise that I do with a lot of my clients who come to me to find their voices because they're in the public speaking space. They want to become the authority on the subject. They want to find more authenticity in their voices. And they want to feel comfortable in the space. They want to feel comfortable with their instrument. So you're basically telling me that I feel comfortable with my singing voice, but it's that speaking voice that I have to stop and just like fix myself and go, okay, now speak. And I want to take that extra step away. I want you to breathe in and speak out. Breathe and speak out, because all you need is breath. You don't have to hold, prepare, and now speak. And
Okay.
so, what I want you to do is, I want you to tell me a story. I want you to tell me a story, quite like the 5-year-old
Okay.
Breanna at 5, say 5, 7, when you were at Kathleen, your grandma's name was Kathleen?
Yes.
Was her name is Kathleen? Okay.
Yes.
At Grandma Kathleen's house, tell me a story that revolves around you listening to those albums of Leon Price or Grace Bumbry. Okay? Think of very specific, and I want details. Okay.
Okay, she said, breathe. At the age of 5, oh, I didn't even exhale. I just
breathe and speak.
At the age of 5, my grandmother, when she would babysit me, she would play albums and records
of speak the story. You speak the breath.
And she would play albums of singers such as Leontine Price, you know, Sherry Greenewald, Grace Bumbry, and she would, you know, play those in the morning, and she would make, you know, homemade biscuits and bacon and grits, and, you know, she would play these albums in her kitchen. I remember my grandmother playing Leontine Price's Aida, and it was such a magical exploration to hear it in the kitchen and smelling the beauty of her breakfast and her homemade biscuits. And it made me feel warm, it made me feel enlightened and vibrant. And hearing that record of Leontine Price and hearing her voice soar, singing in her authentic voice gave me such passion and such elevation in what I want to be as a singer.
Great. Wonderful. I want you to tell me a story now when you were 12.
So I studied with Nathan Carter. I started my first classical training with Nathan Carter.
Okay, so wait a minute. Why did you just clear your throat?
Oh, because I had phlegm in my throat.
Okay, all right. And you know what? It probably I heard a little like little screech there just before. What I want you to do is think up and over. Think the breath up and over. Think the breath out this way, as opposed to it just coming straight out. I want you to think of it up and out in an arc. Okay. So when you breathe in, I want you to think up and out. Okay. Let it go over the back of the tongue and up and out so that you don't get that, because you kind of got that little tickle in the back of your throat.
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead.
At the age of 12, I started singing classical music. My grandmother took me to my first voice lesson with conductor Nathan Carter at New Shiloh Baptist Church.
Great. Hold on for 1 second.
Yes.
Hold on for 1 second. I want you to put more chest voice in your speaking voice now. Okay? Just give me a little bit more chest resonance, and don't be afraid of it. Okay? Don't be afraid, because right now you're in your head, but you can put a little more chest resonance there because there's more space in the chest, which means more full-bodied resonance. Doesn't have to be big, just there needs to be a little balance with a little bit more bottom.
Okay. At the age of 12, I started singing classical music with Nathan Carter at New Shiloh Baptist Church.
Great. Now that's the technique. Let's put Breanna back in the narrative. You know, let's not just talk.
At the age of 12, I started my classical training with Nathan Carter at New Shiloh Baptist Church.
Did you see Nathan Carter? Did you see Nathan Carter?
Yes.
Did you see New Shiloh Baptist Church?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You got to see the images, baby. Okay. So once you get the technique, then you breathe in and you just let the voice come up and out and really feel a wonderful sense of this happening. Okay.
All right.
Because in all honesty, sweetheart, I'm going to tell you, it's not, you're fearing that, oh my God, I'm going to open up the kettle of worms, or the conversation of, what is she? Is she he? Is it he?
Yeah.
Don't even think about that. Don't allow that to get into you, because what you're doing is you're staying here for fear that going here, down here, will open up questions that you don't want to answer, and you don't have to answer, because as with your instrument, you should be able to access more dulcet, deeper tones in your feminine voice.
Got it.
Okay. So, got it. Yeah, I heard it. Good. All right. Go on.
Let's do it again. At the age of 12,
Good.
I started my classical training with the amazing Nathan Carter at New Shiloh Baptist Church. He gave me the tools to become a better singer, but also to prep me for my audition for Baltimore School for the Arts. And
Really?
yes, yeah. I actually I went to Baltimore School for the Arts for high school. And so
What?
Nathan prepped me. Yes, yeah. Yeah. And
I'm impressed. Okay.
yes. And so yeah, Nathan Carter prepped me vocally and musically to audition for the program, which I got accepted to, and I sang
Okay.
the Sun.
You know what I'm seeing? You know what I'm seeing?
Uh-oh.
What I'm seeing? I need you to take, no, this is all good. It really is. It's not a uh-oh moment. I need you to take the lid off of Bree. You know, take the lid off the sucker, take the lid off the sucker. Okay? Yes.
Yes.
Come on.
Okay.
All right.
So again.
So he prepped you for Baltimore School of the Arts.
Yes. Yes.
And what songs did you sing?
I sing The Sun Will Come Out from Annie. And I sing His Eyes on the Sparrow for my audition.
What?
Yes. And Robert Cantrell, who was my voice teacher at Baltimore School for the Arts, was in the audition. And the panel was blown away by my performance. And I got a call back actually the day of my audition, which was like in the evening. And so when I went to the callback, had a tour of the school, I told my mother that I'm excited and hopefully I get in. And then a couple of weeks later, I got a letter saying that I was accepted to the program. And my mother was in complete shock. She just got home from work and she was crying, and you know, she was just praising God that I got into the music program.
Your voice is settling in, sweetheart. It's settling in. It really is. It's settling into a place that is really where your natural voice lives, you know? And another thing, you don't have to pronounce all of your consonant sounds.
Okay.
Do you know what
it's just,
I mean?
Bob, it's because growing up in Baltimore, you know, because we have all of these like mid-Atlantic roots and our dialects are all topsy-turvy. Sometimes, like if I'm really like into it when I'm speaking, my words kind of muddle together. So I get very anxious when I'm interviewing. I'm like, oh my God, like, did they understand what I was saying? So then I over pronunciate the consonants. And then as a result, it makes me seem robotic, but I just get very anxious because my accent kind of peeks through every now and then.
And that's okay. No, that really is okay. It is okay for the accent to peek through every now and again. I'm from New York City, and sometimes it comes through. And you know, sis, I'm going to tell you, at 65, I don't give up.
Oh my God, Denise, you are not 65. Wow.
Thank you, boo. But I am, and I'm owning it. You know, I'm owning the girl from the projects in New York City because it's a part of me. You know, and the thing about it is, I can bring her out. I can put her back. You can, you know, you're the trans woman that has these dulcet, deep tones in your voice.
Mm-hmm.
And you should not be afraid to use them for fear that people will have a conversation about, well, what, you know, that's on them. You need to use
Exactly.
the bottom of your voice, because when you're up here and you just sort of staying there, you're right above the breath. You're speaking above the breath. It's like you're
Oh.
held, you know, you're not sinking and really releasing the voice into the breath. Let the breath, let the voice ride the breath out. But right now, because you've got to be refined, you're the opera singer, your voice is right above the breath. You're staying right here for fear that people will say, oh my gosh, she sounds like a man. Bull, bull. They will never. And if they do, so what? You know who you are. You know,
Yes.
and someone says, oh, Denise is from New York. Yeah, that's right. Yes, I am. What of it? That's right. And you know, and so when we talk about authenticity, it's not just a concept, it's just not a construct. It really is finding your authentic voice. That girl from Baltimore who was always a girl just trapped in a boy's body. That girl who you know, overcame so many obstacles and hardships. I mean, there are things, Bree, there are things that I know that you're not sharing, and I don't want you to share them. But see, the thing about it is, with your voice, the thing about this is you don't have to tell us the details of your story. You can say one thing, but the depth of your voice can be so powerful that we would be able to fill in the blanks. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Like the depth of your voice in one line can tell us all we need to know. And that's what I want you to find. I want you to find the depth of your speaking voice. Like you've got all this range in your singing voice, you've got to find it in your speaking voice, because we're having this wonderful conversation, sis.
Yes.
And there's still something very held and very protected. And I get it. You don't have to tell me everything. But baby, you know, when people talk, when people speak, you can fill in the blanks when they are really, truly connected to their authentic voices. And it comes from storytelling. Like the time when you talked about them biscuits, girl.
My grandmother is the queen of biscuit and rolls. Like, she knows how to cook them to the gods.
Listen to this. This is where your voices live. And every single time you go, it's because you're manipulating the voice in a way, and you're not allowing your voice to just drop and let it and just go, oh, thank you. Your voice is going to thank you. It's like, thank you. Will you stop controlling and manipulating and fucking with me? Can you just let me be?
I think it's just the Virgo in me. You know, I'm such a perfectionist.
Oh,
and,
yes.
You know, and it's quite.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always something that.
I work on it every day. I work on it every day. I really do. I took a moment this weekend to work on that. You know, just a me time, just to allow myself to be and not always feel the pressure to do. Because I'm always doing. I'm a Virgo. And all my Virgo sisters know what I'm talking about. Everyone to the person. That's why most of my friends are Virgos, because we get each other.
We get it.
But sometimes we get it, baby. So I just need you to breathe and just release that voice. And whatever comes out, that's Bree. That's Bree's speaking voice. That's Bree. And you don't have to worry about what people are thinking. I mean, you are, so basically what you're doing, you are an upright bass with all these high, wonderful, dulcet tones and the wonderful tones of a cello, but you've got the stature of an upright bass. And all you want to do is play the high notes. And
Wow.
you're only playing the high notes because for fear of what people might say.
Yeah.
Girl, you better play those low notes because that's how this woman speaks. You know, that's how
Exactly.
this woman speaks. Yeah, indeed. Indeed.
Wow.
So with that, I want you to tell me about your father. Just, you don't have to tell me about the relationship. Tell me about the man. What's he like?
Oh God, it's not good, Denise.
Well, if you don't want to share it, but you can share the good stuff.
Yeah,
Can you
I
find
think
any? Well, let's talk. If you would prefer to talk about your mom.
no, I could talk about my dad. No, I could talk. I can talk about my father. Um, my father is an extrovert, and I think one of the reasons my performing, um, I think when I sing and perform, I know that ability has come from him because my father is that type of person. Actually, when he enters a room, it is his show, and he is very um, he's very articulate. He went to radio school. He's a minister, now a pastor. And so he knows how to orate. He knows how to
Wow.
speak, and he has a fantastic speaking voice. And I think I've got a lot of those qualities because, he is very performative in his movements and in his voice and in his attitude and how he presents himself. I've never seen my father dress down. He always
What?
dressed sharp. Every day, I would see him in a different suit. He always dressed to the nines. His, cologne and just hair sharp, fade sharp. I saw that as a kid, before my parents divorced.
This is absolutely wonderful because you are breathing in and letting your voice go. You're just letting it go. When you
Yeah,
breathe and let your voice go, the listener doesn't have to work so hard. We don't have to come to you. You're giving it to
that's
us. It's
true.
the gift. You're giving us your
Mhm.
voice. And before it was just, come to me. You can hear me. Come to me and take my story. Right now, you're giving it. You're giving it to us. You're
Mhm.
sharing it. You're releasing it. And it feels so good. Do you know what vocal fry is?
Yes, that
Do you know
it's
what
hard.
vocal fry is?
Yeah,
Of
it's kind of
course.
like,
Of course we do.
yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh, no, no, no. What were you about to say? No, you were about to say something.
No, I'm saying, what is vocal fry?
Isn't vocal fry like it's like you sing in the deepest part of your voice and you kind of just let it resonate and vibrate in like the deepest part of your sound or your
No,
voice?
actually, vocal fry. Vo- Vocal fry is when you don't have enough breath to continue the thought and it starts frying like a piece of bacon.
Oh,
You get that kind of like yes, that. that and you had a lot of that in your voice because you didn't want to use the fullness of your voice. You didn't want to use the fullness of your breath in your speaking voice
yeah, and I heard
for
it
fear that
towards
it's
the
too
end.
much. And now that you tell me
Yeah,
about your dad and your dad being an orator, I mean, you've got some heavy shoes to fill, sis. You've got some heavy shoes to fill, and I want you to fill it. I want you to fill the room with your essence, with your spirit, okay? So tell
yeah,
me more about your dad.
yeah. And he's very lively. He's very uh there's that musician in him because he can play several instruments. He plays the drums, the piano, the electric guitar. I think growing up and seeing my father, he was fearless, and that was the one thing I admire about my dad. Like he didn't care about what other people thought of him, or he didn't care about what people view him as. He was Brad Senior. That was who he is. And seeing that, the confidence that he always displayed, it kind of I admired that when I was a child. I really did. I admired his ability to just, when he walks into a room, people are like attentive. They're listening to him. They're embraced by him. And it's really cool to see that.
What is it like for you as a transgender woman to be the now daughter of a pastor?
Oh, it's interesting, and I think sometimes, especially parents, when it comes to religion and spirituality, I think sometimes they think, oh, when you transition or you live in your authentic self in a way, that I've disregarded prayer or I've disregarded, the things that actually uplift me.
Yeah.
And no, because I transition doesn't mean that I'm a heathen all the time. Like, the transitioning aside from spirituality is just who I am, but that does not negate the fact that I still pray. I still keep myself uplifted. I still hear a sermon every now and then.
Yeah.
I still keep a little scripture every now and then in my heart and take it with me. So just because I transition doesn't mean that I'm I'm living wildly as my
Mhm.
family would see it. But as a pastor's kid, um, I think my family are starting to see that some of the values and some of the spiritual tools that they've given me, I have not thrown those away. I still keep some of those spiritual tools with me.
That's beautiful, sweetheart. How does this voice sound? How does this voice sound right now?
I feel comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I feel
Yeah. It's
comfortable, and
settling.
yes. And I can hear
It
it. I can hear the settling.
That's great because it really, I don't want you to have to feel that you're speaking up here because, I'm an opera singer. And it's not just the fact that you're trying to be in this feminine vocal world. It's also that you're an opera singer,
Exactly.
a soprano, which lives here anyway,
Yeah.
you know? And so I want you to know that you don't have to live here when you're speaking. And it won't in any way to go down here into your chest and to use those wonderful warm tones, because that's where your heart is. That's where the heart chakra
Wow.
is, As long as you stay up here, it really gives off this element of being cerebral. It's a cerebral exercise in storytelling. But when you come down here, it comes from the heart, Bree. We
Yes.
can just feel it from the heart. And so I want you to resonate more in your chest when you're speaking. And I'm hearing it now. It's settling into your chest. And so again, that wonderful image that I gave you of an upright bass, play those deep notes, baby, when
Yes.
you're
I
speaking.
love
Embrace
that
those.
explanation. I love it. That was very um I love that tool. I'm going to take that with me. Think of an upright bass and using all of those tones and marinating in those tones.
Right.
And you know,
Wow. Listen to your voice now, girl. It's I put some more sexy in your voice. That's what I'm saying too. Your speaking voice. Bree, we've got to go on and come to a close of this
yes.
amazing session. This has been wonderful, sweetheart. Tell me what you would want to leave this audience, a gem that you would want to leave in their laps, in addition to authenticity, in addition to finding a tribe.
Yeah, I think, as a trans person, I hope audiences and people
Mm,
will be more understanding and patient and,
mm,
you know, and open-minded to the fact that, that we are human beings. And that's one thing I've always put emphasis on. When I see my trans sisters, getting killed or brutally murdered, y'all, that's a human life that's being affected. And we don't know, their family or friendships or whatever. And I think as a trans person is that I hope audiences will see us as just human. We are human beings trying to live our lives the best way that we know how, and living our authentic truth. Nobody's hurting nobody. We ain't hurting nobody. We're just being our authentic self.
There you go. It's wonderful. Thank you, sweetheart.
Of course.
You are true. You are true grace and the epitome of authenticity. And my takeaway is hard work pays off. Hard work and believing in yourself and believing in a higher power and falling back on God and the universe and the people around you in your community that have gotten you this far. You are a true walking testament to that. I love you.
Thank you. Love you, Denise.
You. All right, sweetheart. To be continued.
Yes.
All right, sweetheart. Thank you.
Yes. Blessings.
Thank you for joining us on Our Voices on the Yard. This is Denise Wood saying, find us on whatever podcast platform you use. Subscribe and leave us a review. Thanks a lot. See you next time.